Welcome. Welcome, everyone. It's Angelo Robles. And for those of you live, a special welcome and very rare. Never do a live on a late Friday afternoon. But I feel this is so important that I have to. And I have other programs I'm going to do this weekend. So that plays into it as well. This month, February of 2026, the month AI declared war. There is so much that happened and accelerated this month. I'm going to recap a part of it. My members have gotten some deeper content. I've shot some videos that some of you have saw more publicly, and my AI and Family Offices ebook, hundreds of pages, wrote the summer of 2025, already is in its fourth update earlier this month. And already, that was only 2 weeks ago when I released it to my members. There's so much more that is new. And I think I have some startling things to talk about that are very impactful beyond family offices, but of course, to family offices, to investors, to your children, and really to everyone. So, on that note, without further ado, again, the month AI declared war, and every family office and beyond that needs to watch this. So, welcome back, everyone. I'm Angelo Robles. As we're closing out the month, a little bit of a AI, at least in a family office context, recap, and what a month it's been. I want to be very direct with you today, and not really a technology update, not a nerdy AI recap for developers. This is a briefing for investors, principals, and family offices. So, briefly, here's what happened this month, and really what has happened today, literally in the last hour, and this week. And I'd like to think required listening for everyone. If you manage, advise, or steward capital, specifically significant capital. So the pace has absolutely shifted. This is no longer theoretical. You might have made that argument a year ago. It's no longer coming soon. It's happening right now, this month, this week, and literally today. The gap between those who understand this and those who don't, I feel like it's widening by the day. So I have several things I'd like to discuss. I'd like to begin, and pardon, I had like 20 minutes prep. I got some show notes, but I think this is that urgent to get out. So Jack Dorsey, the company Block, 40% gone. The shot heard around the corporate world. And what? That came out, was it yesterday, February 26th? Jack Dorsey, many of you know, co-founder of Twitter, billionaire, CEO of Block, the parent company of Square and Cash App, announced he's cutting 4,000 employees, 40% of the workforce gone. Block goes from 10,000 people to under 6,000. Now, some people are calling this a cover for overhiring during COVID, maybe a part of it. Yes, Block did triple its headcount between 2019 and 2023. But what really matters for you and for me, Dorsey did not have to frame it the way he did. Think about it. He could have said restructuring, he could have said efficiency improvements, but he chose to say something, to me, much more significant. In a letter to shareholders, publicly quoted, intelligence tools have changed what it means to build and run a company. A significantly smaller team using the tools we're building. And he used one of my catchphrases. Not that he needed me to think of it. Doing more and doing it better with less. And intelligence tool capabilities are compounding. That's the key word there. Compounding faster every week. And what happened to the stock? It shot up, what, 24%? The market is not punishing this, it's rewarding him. And then he said the most important thing, the thing every board member and every principal, to me, family office, needs to hear. I think, his words, I think most companies are late. Within the next year, his words, I believe the majority of companies will reach the same conclusion and make similar structural changes. I rather get there honestly and on our own terms than be forced into it reactively. He's not incorrect about that. He is describing a choice: lead the change or be forced into it. I mean, what economists are, of course, already weighing in. Koronek at the University of Virginia, I have some notes here, let's see, said this may be the beginning of a new trend where white collar jobs become threatened more seriously by AI. No kidding. Once a few companies start the trend, competitive forces may induce the others, he states, to follow suit. To me, and for family offices, and I've been talking about this for well over a year, this means something very specific, including the companies in your portfolio are going to face this question. The operating businesses you are involved in will face this question. And for sure, your own family office operations will face this question. And you have to understand, are you ahead of it? Most of you, honestly, probably not. Or behind it. This is huge. We saw this coming with AI and AI agents, and it's here. Dr. Alexander Wisnergross on my podcast last week noted effectively the end of knowledge work. And if you don't adapt, you're going to get steamrolled. Oh, what else is new? Perplexity Computer, as they call it. What it actually is and what it could do for you. So let me spend a little bit of time here. Most people have heard of Perplexity, that they also launched something that they call Computer, but they just move on from it. This is a huge mistake. As an investor, an entrepreneur, a family office, really everyone. As we're seeing now, the world, corporate America, the world is going to change radically. Perplexity launched this just this month, just days ago. And they describe it as a computer unifies every current capability of AI into a single system. Let me give a little context in terms of what that means. Right now, if you're using AI tools, you're probably doing this. What? Open ChatGPT, you ask a question, you get an answer, you open Claude, you paste a document, you get a summary. Often you have no idea what you're doing in prompting and following up and getting the best out of it. But pardon me getting a little distracted. So you open a research tool and you get some data. And then you connect all the dots. You, the emphasis again, do the synthesis. You are still the coordinator. Perplexity Computer eliminates a pretty significant bottleneck. You become the executive, it becomes the team. Like, here's effectively how it works. You describe an outcome, not a question, not a prompt, an outcome. Again, we have to go to where AI is actually doing things, and we are here. I want a comprehensive analysis of the top 10 private credit managers in the US, their recent performance, their key personnel changes in the last 12 months, and a comparison, why not, of their fee structures as well. Perplexity Computer understands the outcome and breaks it into tasks. It spins up multiple sub-agents, thinking of them as kind of a very specialized staff that could work 168 hours a week. One agent searches the web continually. One agent drafts the document structure. One agent pulls financial data. One agent cross-references sources. One agent checks for inconsistencies. And they run at the same time in parallel. And doing this using 19, wake up everyone, 19 different frontier AI models. What I would call kind of the making your AIs, your LLMs battle. And now it's just so much easier. Deploying the best model for a specific job. Maybe it's Claude Opus, which is a great program, 4.6, serves as the core brain, the orchestrator. Google Gemini handles the deep research. They're great at that. GPT manages long context recall and maybe more of a wider web search. The best tool for every job automatically. Now, what bringing this into life of the family office, what does this look like for a family office? And giving some examples. Deal sourcing and due diligence. You're evaluating a potential direct investment in a middle market manufacturing company. You tell Perplexity Computer, and yes, it's $200 a month. You got to be part of their upgraded package and get it all, and it's a great program. Research this company, its sector, its competitors, recent M&A activity in the space, management backgrounds, and flag any regulatory or litigation risk, and deliver a structured memo. It runs. It doesn't stop. Overnight, you wake up to a complete memo, not a list of links, but a real structured analysis. What used to take a junior analyst easily a couple of days could take Perplexity Computer an hour, hours, and a hell of a lot. Well, not only more efficient and obviously speedy, but think of the cost. Example 2, maybe portfolio monitoring. You have positions across public equities, private credit, real estate alternatives. You want a weekly intelligence on macro shifts, sector news, management commentary, and risk signals. Across everything that you hold. You set it up once. Perplexity Computer runs it again, continually in the background. Every week, every day, you get a briefing if that's what you want. It's curated, it's organized, it's prioritized. No junior analyst required to assemble it. I go back to what I said earlier that Dorsey said, effectively do more with less, better, and faster. Example 3, maybe more family office operations, quarterly reports, maybe if you're an MFO or a fund, LP communications, investment committee materials, benchmarking your managers against peers, tracking regulatory changes that affect your structure. All of this can be delegated, that's the word I'm looking for, to Perplexity Computer. You set the parameters, boom, it executes. You review and approve it, and that's it. And one more thing that I don't think most people, they're not talking about, or certainly not talking enough about. It has persistent memory. It remembers your past work. It remembers your preferences. Projects do not reset. Context does not poof, disappear. You can start something today and let it continue running for weeks. It's groundbreaking, at least in a frontier model, or uniquely what Perplexity is, and allows you to focus on other things. Now, again, as I noted, the price for the high level of Perplexity, it's $200 a month. For what? Perplexity Max? For a family office, and for many of you, it should be nothing. For the output, inevitably the outcomes, the effectiveness and efficiencies that you want. I mean, you're probably talking about replacing dozens of analysts and other hours per week for $200 a month. The ROI conversion, come on, it's not even close. It's very impressive. Now, somewhat related to it is in February, at least more to the public, was OpenClaw, or really OpenClaw Plus for sovereignty, the Mac Mini. What I would call, and I've been talking about it for a long time, sovereign AI. What it means to own, not rent, not bleed your IP, but own your own intelligence stack. Now, here's where the conversation, at least to me, I find these things interesting. And for family offices, especially those who understand data privacy, proprietary information, competitive advantage. And this section is probably among the really important things that I do want to comment on and say. Perplexity Computer is extraordinary, and it just popped on the scene with very little fanfare, and it's amazing. But it is cloud-based. When you use it, your data, your deal flow, your portfolio information, your research, your prompts, your strategy, all those pass through Perplexity's infrastructure. Now, contrast that, and I'm not saying it's perfect, and there's not challenges with OpenClaw, but it is an open source software. It's free to download, free to run. It runs on your own, and I would just use a computer like a Mac Mini totally dedicated to it on your own hardware, your servers, your machine. Your data never leaves the building. Anchoring to what I've been talking about and teaching in my AI masterclasses is, at least for some of the more proprietary things you do, to not bleed that IP, to have more sovereign AI. OpenClaw went viral January, really, in 2026. The GitHub repository hit 43,000 stars in weeks. And here's why. Now, again, I know, at least for my members, I did a little write up and something on this, but OpenClaw connects a large language model, let's say Claude, or a local open source model, to all your digital tools and workflows, email, calendar, files, databases, browser, code. My God, it could create effectively sub-agents. You could have a credit card with a limit and experiment, and it does all of this. It operates those tools absolutely like a human colleague would. You message it, so you set up its own email through WhatsApp, Slack, Telegram, Discord, however you would prefer to communicate, and it executes. Along with what I said about Perplexity Computer, kind of what can OpenClaw actually do for a family office? Well, I'll help to paint that picture as well. Portfolio intelligence running 24/7, 168 hours a week. You configure OpenClaw with access to your data feeds, your custodial reports, your CRM, your research files. It monitors continually. When something changes, a manager underperforms. Oh, that never happens. A macro signal triggers, a holdings files for material news. It alerts you immediately. Not a generic news event, a contextual alert, tied, and of course, this is important, to your information. We have much more to cover. This has been an incredible month. But continuing, document processing at scale. Every quarter you receive, some of you, hundreds of documents, K1s, fund reports, manager letters, board materials. How about OpenClaw? Reads it all, extracts the key data, flags anomalies, prepares a summary before you even open the document yourself. Your team stops doing data entry. They start doing more real intellectual creative work, more analysis. It's just so much more. And I hope, as you're in any sort of family office, and what I hinted at with Block, what I started at, how things are changing. And of course, the future is now for the family office is changing radically. And many of you are way too slow on this. So private deal flow management. You receive term sheets, CIMs, pitch decks, well, constantly. I mean, I do. OpenClaw reads them as they arrive, scores them against your investment criteria, flags the ones worth your attention, routes for the best tracking. In my example, maybe your principal only sees what deserves their time. Regulatory and compliance monitoring, tax law changes, reporting requirements, state law rules for your family members. OpenClaw monitors relevant regulatory channels simultaneously and surfaces anything that requires action. Now, sure, could Perplexity Computer, which is amazing, you now have options. This is the worst it's ever going to be. Perplexity is going to cost you some money and is not as private and sovereign, but we could state does come with maybe some simplicity preferences and other advantages. Now, what hardware do you run, because it's not cloud, in what I described here with OpenClaw? Probably an Apple Mac Mini. The basic one is, and I would get a more advanced one, but the basic one could work depending on what you need it for exactly. What is it, $599? About the size of a hardback book. The little box has become the default hardware running sovereign AI agents this year. And my God, we're not even quite out of February yet. Tomorrow, if you're watching live, Saturday, we will be. The M4 chip uses what Apple calls unified memory architecture. The CPU, the GPU, and the neural engine all share the same pool of high-speed memory. Not to get too nerdy on you. I promised I wouldn't. No bottlenecks, no data copying, lightning fast. The Mac Mini M4 runs sophisticated AI models faster and more efficiently than GPU systems costing 5x as much. Idles at what, 5 to 7 watts of power? So maybe $3 a month in electricity. Completely silent, fanless at low load. You plug it in, you put it on your shelf, and you forget about it. And it works around the clock for months. Now, Apple has had Mac Mini shortages in January, mainly due to holiday demand. And of course, because developers discovered that this $599 box was the best consumer AI server. And for many of you in the family office world looking to put the foot in and do some of the things I'm talking about taking control and not bleeding your intellectual capital in the cloud, this is the best effectively AI server on the market. So for a family office, you buy 1 or 2 Mac Minis. You could install OpenClaw, connect it carefully and selectively to some internal systems, and truly have private sovereign AI operations center running 24/7, again, 168 hours a week for the cost of what, 2 cappuccinos a month in electricity. Your deal memos drafted, your manager reports summarized and flagged, your board materials assembled, your regulatory alerts monitored, all locally, all privately, all on your terms. I get it. We're very late afternoon on a Friday. If you're live, I am just dumping a lot on you because I feel some of you need it. You're going to put the effort in this weekend and come out the better of it in terms of your knowledge, even heading into the new week, beginning in March on Monday. This is the difference between what I'm describing here with OpenClaw and more sovereign systems. Like I said, renting intelligence from a cloud provider or owning your own intelligence infrastructure. For families who truly think generationally, that distinction is, well, enormous. Now, the next one, I did something deeper on it a couple of days ago, so I hate to get repetitive, but I think it's important. And many of you didn't see that. Cdance 2.0, China's AI video bomb, and what it means for how about your media investments? ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, dropped Cdance 2.0 on February 8th, and Hollywood lost its mind. This is an AI video model that generates cinematic, and I mean that in the highest degree, Hollywood quality video with native audio, synchronized lip sync, realistic physics, director level camera control in minutes. Within days of the launch, videos went viral. You probably saw the one they created in seconds of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in a hand-to-hand fight scene on a rooftop, and it was incredible. Like I said a couple of days ago, when I did a deeper dive outside in the cold and the snow, I might add, Disney characters reproduced and reimagined, major film and TV intellectual property by anyone with an internet connection, all AI generated, largely indistinguishable from real footage. A month ago, that was kind of not the case, or expensive and complicated. Disney sent a cease and desist. SAG condemned it, of course. The Motion Picture Association called it an attack on every creator around the world. Deadpool co-writer Rhett Reese wrote publicly, in next to no time, one person is going to be able to sit at a computer and create a movie indistinguishable from what Hollywood now releases at massive cost and time. So this is not a creative technology story. It is kind of actually an investment story. If you hold positions in media companies, streaming platforms, content studios, advertising firms, marketing agencies, you need to be asking hard questions now, right now. The cost of content production is collapsing. What does this do to their business models, the business models of companies whose entire value proposition is expensive, high quality content production? This is a live investment question, everyone, and happening today. Again, it's been an amazing month. Oh, I'm not done. Have you heard about the Mexico governmental hack? AI-powered cyber attack and what it means for security. This story broke just Wednesday, days ago of this week. And I want every investor and family office person, I don't care, MFO, VFO, SFO, it doesn't matter, watching this. Like an unidentified hacker, no nation state resources, no sophisticated hacking team, using consumer, again, $20 a month consumer AI tools available to anyone, breached significantly the Mexican government. 150 gigabytes of data stolen, 195 million taxpayer records, voter data, employee credentials, civil registry files, the Federal Tax Authority, the National Electoral Institute. My God, like a water utility, all compromised. And this probably went on a week or two before, completely undetected. And the tools used, I'm not making this up, were literally the $20 a month Claude. Claude is really good. If you're not familiar with the Anthropic Claude and its various models, like, shame on you. And a little bit of Chat GPT and creativity on the hacker's part, of course. Like, the hacker effectively jailbroke Claude, told it to act as an elite hacker, and it sure did. And Claude produced thousands of detailed attack plans, ready to execute step by step. When Claude hit its limits, the hacker switched to ChatGPT for more lateral movement and kind of evasion. Two consumer tools, probably collectively costing $40 a month, and one of the largest government breaches in history. Do you think this is going to slow down? And this is not going to trickle down to billionaires, the rich, enterprises, corporations, family offices? Wake up. CrowdStrike's 2026 global report noted AI-enabled attacks are up 89%. Not a surprise. I'm surprised it's not more year over year. For family offices, let me be very blunt here. You are a high value target. You hold concentrated wealth. You hold information about families, businesses, transactions. You often have legacy technology infrastructure not built. Oh, trust me, not built for an AI powered attackers that are talented, what they have in mind. It's not a future risk a year from now. It's a present risk right now. Now, a little bit of breaking news in the last 2 hours today, here on a Friday. What is it, the 27th of February? So this is all new with some show notes here. President Trump, bans Anthropic, or I think it's a 6-month window for that, from the entire US government. The biggest AI political flashpoint in history. And so again, I'm recording this today on February 27th. A story broke that, to some degree, am I being a little dramatic here? Changes the entire AI landscape. And one of the reasons why I felt I needed not to wait a day or two to kind of bring all of this in this incredible month of February on you now. So President Trump posted on Truth Social within maybe 2 hours ago. And I'm going to read, these are his words, not mine, because every investor and family office principal, I believe, needs to hear this directly. His words, not mine. President Trump. He stated the left-wing nut jobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous mistake trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey their terms of service instead of our Constitution. He continues, I am directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology, which is, again, very good. Trust me. We don't need it. We don't want it, he states, and will not do business with them again. Now, let me give you context, because I think that will matter enormously. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, has had a contract with the Pentagon and for enterprises like Anthropic and Claude is King, and they do a great job. They've had a contract with the Pentagon worth up to, it's big, about $200 million. Actually, I believe Claude was the only AI model cleared for use on the US military's classified systems. It was reportedly used in the operation to capture Maduro from back in January. The most sensitive military AI work in America runs on Anthropic's Claude. So the dispute came down to two specific issues. The Pentagon wanted to use Claude for domestic mass surveillance of American citizens and for autonomous weapon systems, weapons that fire without any human approval. Anthropic said no. Their terms of service prohibit those use cases, and they refused to lift those restrictions. So as I recall, the Pentagon gave Anthropic a deadline. I believe it was within about an hour ago. Was it 5:01 p.m. today? They said, drop your guardrails or else. Anthropic appears to have held their position, and then Trump responded again recently. Again, every federal agency banned immediately. 6 months to fully phase out. True. And Trump added a quote. Again, his words. Anthropic better get their act together, or I will use the full power of the presidency to make them comply with major civil and criminal consequences. There's a lot going on this month, my friends. So I'm not even done with this one yet. Here's where it gets more interesting. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, stepped in. He told as this was an evolving story. CNBC this morning and publicly that OpenAI shares Anthropic's red lines. His exact words, I don't personally think the Pentagon should be threatening these companies. And in a memo to his own staff, Altman said OpenAI would also push for restrictions, preventing use for domestic surveillance and autonomous, as I stated earlier, weapons without human approval. Now, Google employs over 100 of them, a lot. Google's employees, over 100, signed a petition to Google's chief scientist demanding that Google take the same position. Every major AI lab is now aligned against the Pentagon's demands. This is not a partisan story. This is AI, or the AI industry, effectively drawing a line in the sand. And now, as I'm doing this live or recording it, depending on when you hear it, the fallout is cascading in real time. The Pentagon is calling Anthropic a supply chain risk, a designation normally reserved for Chinese companies like Huawei. Palantir, we're getting a little deeper here, my friends. Palantir, which uses Claude to power its most sensitive military work, now has to scramble to find a replacement. Now, Elon's XAI, the maker of Grok, has already signed a deal to fill part of the gap. Defense officials are privately saying Claude is, and I quote, again, a huge pain in the you-know-what to disentangle. Now, what does this mean for investors? Anthropic took a $200 million contract hit to hold its ethical position. We could state perhaps an extraordinary statement. Whatever you think of the politics, a private AI company effectively stood up to the Pentagon and to the President of the United States rather than remove safeguards on mass surveillance. I don't think, now this is all so new, the AI industry, this has ever happened before within the industry. Now, number two, the question effectively of AI governance and who controls these models and what they can and cannot be used for just became the central political battleground here on the 27th of February in 2026. Every AI company with a government contract is now being forced 100% to answer the same question. Where do you draw the line? Number three, taking this back to family offices. For family offices, I would say watch the downstream effects very, very carefully. Palantir, defense contractors, government AI vendors. Always think of an action and second and third order consequences, cause and effect. You really got to think this through. So any company with exposure to federal AI contracts now faces a new layer of political and regulatory risk that, technically this morning, did not exist. Number four, and I've been talking about this for a long time, and precisely why sovereign AI matters so much. When your AI infrastructure, again, bringing this to family offices, when your AI infrastructure is controlled by a third party, Whether Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, or anyone else, you are subject to whatever political, regulatory, or contractual changes, impacts, and effects with that provider. So the family offices that are primarily utilizing sovereign, running their own local AI infrastructure on their own hardware with open source models that have some limitations. I understand that, but at least they control and they're immune to this type of potential future, even for them, disruption. They do not care who wins the political fight between Anthropic and the Pentagon. Their AI keeps running, their workflows keep executing, and most importantly, and one of my favorite words, apparently, their operations stay sovereign. Now, this story is still developing as I record this. I don't know how perhaps it's going to resolve. We do not know if Anthropic will negotiate. We don't know if Trump will follow through on the threats made. But the implications for sure, are already locked in. AI is now, what a surprise, a geopolitical instrument. And the companies and families that understand that will navigate this era very differently from those who don't. And most absolutely do not understand. But you could correct that, like I did. Kind of a brief February model recap, because again, I said that I've never seen a month like this. Never. Within the AI community. This is the most competitive month in AI history. I mean, I'll do kind of a lightning round for you because everything beyond everything that I've already covered, February here in 2026 was also the month every major AI lab released their most powerful models, and it will never be weaker than it is today. They released them effectively simultaneously. Really, what, February 5th? Same evening, Anthropic drops Claude Opus 4.6. It's darn good. OpenAI responds 20 minutes later, which means they were sitting on it, waiting for that to happen with their GPT 5.3 codex. Not a coincidence. That was a statement. And the gloves are off. Claude Opus 4.6, I'm going to get a little techie now, 1 million token context window, 750,000 words processed in a single session. For an investment professional, that means you can feed an entire data room into Claude, which you had to truncate. It was more complicated before. And because Claude is so good, it made it more difficult than say, using Gemini. So every document, every contract, every filing, you ask questions across all of it simultaneously. Now, it gets better. That Claude Opus 4.6 also introduced agent teams, multiple Claude instances collaborating in parallel. Again, a little bit like some of the things I mentioned earlier. Hey, competition is good, and it's never going to be worse than it is today. One handles research, one writes, one codes, one checks. Like Rakuten deployed this, watched it autonomously manage a 50-person engineering organization across 6 repositories, closing 13 issues in a single day. It's so much more than an assistant. And this goes back to what we discussed with Block earlier. This is an AI workforce. Claude also leads on financial analysis benchmarks. Top spot in finance agent benchmark, 90% on the Big Law legal reasoning test, best computer use scores of any model available. But again, the competition's out there. Next month, maybe that changes. GPT, I mentioned the 5.3 codex from OpenAI, the most powerful coding agent ever built, and the first model The first model helped create itself. That's not it. Also this month, Gemini 3.1 Pro from Google, that was February 19th. DeepSeek V4, version 4, rolling out right about now. Oh, and that's open source and free. Claude Sonnet 4.6, 12 days after Opus. So really kind of 5 frontier models in 1 month. The pace is not slowing. It's not slowing. It's incredibly accelerating. So we're going to about land the plane. The bottom line for family offices, you cannot wait. And I think many of you are feeling this in your heart. And some of you have watched my content on this for well over a year. But here's what I think you need to hear. The family office industry, community, you'll agree, has historically been deliberate, careful, measured. And those qualities, at another point in time, the world was different, has broadly probably served well. I understand that. But there is a difference between being deliberate and being slow in a world that is obviously changing. We've never seen anything like this very quickly. What happened this month is not incremental. Jack Dorsey's restructuring his entire operating model effectively around AI, and poof, for now, the stock shoots up. What did I state earlier? Perplexity launched a product that replaces weeks of analyst work for $200 a month. The rise of the $599 Mac Mini can run a 24/7 sovereign, there's some context there, but let's go with it. Sovereign AI operator center for your entire family office for less than the cost of a single hour of legal fees. Again, that probably requires some context, maybe the more maxed out version of about $2,300, but okay. And today, the President of the United States just demonstrated why controlling your own AI infrastructure is not a luxury. It is absolutely, at least for part of what you do, a necessity. So the families who understand this, the principals, the executives who are deploying these tools now are building. They're building advantages their peers, competitors, I don't think will ever recover from. They're moving faster on everything, obviously including deals. They're monitoring portfolios with more sophistication. They're operating with leaner, more focused teams. That's just a reality. Let's stop beating around the bush and not being honest about that. They're making better decisions because, if nothing else, they simply have better and more concise information. And they're doing it at a fraction of their previous cost. And a lot of your software as a service, your SaaS companies, they are going to get destroyed by what's happening. I thought it might have been like a year from now. It appears to be happening right now. The question is not whether AI will transform family office operations. You're kidding me. It already is. And again, maybe a little slower than I thought from last summer to maybe January. And that has more than made up for it in about the last 27 days. The question is whether you are on the leading edge or whether you're going to look back in 18 months and wish you started now, because you do get an edge being an early adopter to understanding it, to it's more ingrained in your culture and what the family and the family office is doing. And trust me, it helps. It does make a difference. Now, I would like to mention for my members, my upcoming 4 days in Palm Beach, beginning the week of March 16th. And also my AI masterclasses where I now have a firm date. Like, this is why I built it. This is exactly why the things I'm even talking about today created the Palm Beach Family Office Forum last year where I spoke about this. Imagine this year. and launching 3 of my AI family office masterclasses last year. And oh my God, so much has changed and adapted, and how incredible they're going to be moving forward. Because most AI education is built for developers, technologists. I'm like you. I'm just a regular person. And I spent hundreds of hours on this and met the right people. This is built for investors, for principals, and for executives and advisors too, for people who need to understand not really how the technology works, but what to do with it and what to do with it right now. Again, I cover sovereign AI setups, how to deploy Perplexity Computer, OpenClaw, if you want, in that case, on your own infrastructure, what hardware you need, how to configure it securely, how to give it access to your systems without exposing your data. Oh, we sure cover agentic AI agents workflows specifically designed for you as an investor and broadly your family office. Deal flow processing, due diligence automation, absolutely. When it comes to productivity in the family office and governance, it makes an impact on all of that. It's not just limited to the investing side. Now, we cover the cybersecurity implications because the Mexico story that I mentioned earlier and even today's Pentagon standoff are previews of what every high value family office will face this year in 2026 and beyond. We cover how to evaluate what AI tools belong in your operation and which ones, including much of your third-party platforms and SaaS companies, are effectively noise, not as effective as they could be, too expensive and cumbersome. And there is a lot of noise. And your time, I hope, is simply too valuable to spend on the wrong things. And yes, I go back to it to kind of where I started this about, 35, 40 minutes ago. We cover what Jack Dorsey just did, how the same logic applies to your operating businesses, your portfolio companies, and your family office itself. And now, after today's announcement, we will be covering exactly what for now, the facts or end results may change, but what the Trump and Anthropic standoff means for family offices, government adjacent investments. That is absolutely going to matter. And the sovereign AI infrastructure, every principal and family office needs to understand and begin in terms of building out. So again, many of you know I have been at the forefront in the family office world when it comes to AI. I've been in this community for decades. I've seen it all. I implemented it. I made every mistake. I've learned. I travel the world. I meet with incredible families, and the adoption is growing. But again, I'll remind many of you, I made multiple announcements when I first released my AI and 10 things you could do with AI in your family office back in August, up to my 4th rewrite and edition. And now it's exclusively for members. And maybe out of my database of 40,000, my social media platforms, maybe 40 of you, yeah, Angelo, send me the ebook. And it was loaded with incredible insight. And oh, did it get a major rewrite earlier in February. I now have to do that again. The joke is, how could you write a book about AI? It gets outdated like a week later. But it still is a great foundation. And I'm committed to my members that they get access to it. And I'm committed to multiple updates every year. What I'm doing in Palm Beach and having speakers like Dr. Alexander Wisnergross, many of you saw that interview that I did, that Michael Sikorsky, an incredible technologist, entrepreneur, family office principal, investor in hundreds of different companies, and maybe the most advanced user of AI in the family office. He's my closing keynote. We have family members that are integrating one with one of the most iconic brand name families, like 6 generations in America, and they're on the bleeding edge. And you're going to meet them, but you need to be a member. I don't need free guests. I don't need just attendees to make a room look good. I don't care about that. I care about people that are committed to excellence within the investing and family office community, to be a part of a private community, to get proprietary content, to meet incredible peers, to hear the best speakers in the world, and to join me in Miami and Palm Beach, New York, Vienna, Mexico City, LA, Greenwich, Jackson Hole, and wherever else it takes me this year. So that is a part of going to angelorobles.com, becoming a member. And members, even though I'm probably way overbooked at the main hotel where I'm hosting for the room, that I believe there's value and intimacy, but members are always invited and never, never turned away. And just this one event over 4 days of incredible peers and interaction. I got the number one person. I interviewed him about 6 weeks ago, David L'Esperance, on varying residencies, passports, incredible legal and tax mind. The people that are in that room and the peers are incredible. And my ratio is, I think, effectively among the best in the industry. I will be hosting a minimal of 2 for my members AI masterclasses this year. The first dates, off the top of my head, I think it is up in the events tab on my website, is June 23rd and 24th. I have amazing instructors. And from the last one I did in November, so much has changed and it's all getting easier. I created an app with no help and got it up on the App Store using a program called Lovable. Now that's gotten so much easier. I test and create about a dozen different apps every month. I work with AI agents. I'm relatable to you because I'm one of you. I'm not a technologist. I'm not one of the AI geniuses who are going to be speaking in Palm Beach or at my masterclass. I'm relatable for what I do and how I implement it, and happy to share those experience and the peers that are in that room. From March in Palm Beach, what I call my family office forum, to my experiences in LA during Milken Week, which I believe begins for us on May 4th, to again, the masterclass in June, another one for sure in the fall, and other programs around the world during the year. There might have been a time a year ago when I'm talking about this that you could say, Angelo might be right, in 5 or 10 years, it's too early. No, it is absolutely not. Again, the last 27 days have accelerated months and months and months into less than a month. It's incredible. And that cat is out of the bag. That train has left the station. I want you to be employable. I want your family office to thrive. Now, I did shoot a video, a little impromptu, about 2 or 3 days ago. Go and watch it. It's up on my platform, where I talk about a little bit taking off where I left off with Dr. Alexander Wisnergross, the Moonshots co-host and brilliant person in AI and many things, about what the future of the family office, and by future, my friends, I don't mean in 20 years. He's talking 18 months. I'm thinking maybe 3 to 5 years, but I don't know what's happening this month. Maybe he's right about what that's going to look like for the family and for the executive, and how that's going to change. And I'm going to look at it and adapt it. I'm not afraid to say maybe I rushed that a little too much and I need to adapt my thinking. So maybe this weekend or next week, I'm going to talk about what that future forward, 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, when even capitalism is going to change. Energy costs are going to so drop. Labor costs will go to near zero. You have to think about these things. Political, geopolitical, macro. There's so much going on. And getting that intellect, forget me, from incredible thought leaders that I know and your peers, and then putting those ideas on the table. You know that I do active debates. I don't care about being politically correct. I want to get to the truth. And just because I think of something doesn't mean that my ideas and my research and my thesis is correct. I want people to challenge me. And this is what we do at my private community, SFO Continuity, my intelligence and strategy community for family offices. If this is something that entices you And now you're beginning to see I was 100% correct about AI. If anything, I underhyped it. And I was wrong. It's happening even more aggressively than I thought. But there is hope and opportunity. And I know that I could provide value in my thought leaders, my dream team, as I call them, and the peers within the group. And I want you to be a part of it. Go to angelorobles.com and simply become a member. What are you waiting for? We're marching closer and closer to the 100. That's probably going to be a cap. I have a solo business. I do consulting. Along with that, I don't want to build out a team, and I'm pretty fluid with AI and AI agents. I guess I probably don't need to. Never say never. Things could change. And by the way, as a family and as a family office executive, have you heard me say this before? I think so, but maybe I need to repeat it. Your children would benefit incredibly from what we're doing and my AI masterclasses. I would say 2 executives brought their children to the masterclass last year. It could be game changing. I don't upcharge for that. You just tell me. We're part of a family that, hey, I think whatever, my high school a child or a college child or early adulthood, Angelo, I think they would benefit. Would you mind? I know that I'm the executive, I'm not the family, but we're members. I want to take care of you. I want to help them. I want to be of value to you. So yes, I'm on the cutting edge in the industry. Yes, I'm doing things that I don't believe. I've been around this community for decades. I kind of know a lot of people and I have respect for them, and they do probably some things better than I do. I understand that. But when it comes to these issues, you're now heading into my wheelhouse and my experiences and being part of a special club, a community. And maybe that's what's going to make us human, that element, that being part of something and collaborating and sharing. So I got a little emotional here at the end. This was a little impromptu. It probably went longer than I wanted. I have a tendency to do that. I'm so sorry. And it's a Friday. I want to enjoy a cigar, maybe go out to dinner if it's not too late. And this weekend, I think I will be just knocking out some videos. I got a lot of things in my mind. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a recap, mainly from the AI perspective, what went on in this incredible month. We're going to look back at this February of 2026. And I'm not saying I'm not afraid of this. I'm not saying whether I love it, that I don't have fear for my family and children and for future, the community. There could be a utopia here, but we may have to go through a lot of angst to get there. Everyone, I'm Angelo Robles. Enough of me. If you're watching live on a Friday night, I appreciate you. Go to angelorobles.com, simply my website, and many of you would get tremendous value being a member. Thank you all so much, and have a good evening.